This is a Glassbox Media Podcast.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way. Offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do you guys want to hear the cutest story I heard this week in People?
Yes.
So you know I'm a People addict. I feel like I want to make like that. If I ever make another podcast, that'll be my next podcast. What I read in People this week.
Where you just explain. You're like, I read it so you don't have to.
So this article says this. Like that's just gonna be me. Like here's the short of it.
Yeah, and not only like summation or summaries of the articles, but just like, this is what I think about it.
Yeah.
This is my personal opinion about this.
You listen to that, right?
Yeah,
I totally
of course.
would.
Well, Jamie Lee Curtis is on the cover, and she's talking about how she survived opioid addiction.
Which I had no idea.
No, me neither.
Clue. But okay,
She's been famous forever.
I know. It was like during the 80s, and I was like, hidden very well from her family, of course. Anyway, the part in there that I thought was super fucking cute was she's been married to Christopher Guest for like 30 plus years. They've been married for a long time. And I think they're the fucking cutest couple, and I love Christopher Guest. She said she saw him on This One Goes All the Way to Love. Spinal Tap. Yeah, I was like, why couldn't I think of the name of it? Spinal Tap. And she said to her friend, she goes, I'm going to marry that guy. And how funny, because then she reached out to his manager with her phone number and was like, give this to, and they went on a date 6 months later. They were married, and they've been married ever since. Is that the cutest?
That's the cutest
awesome.
version of that story that
Ever.
Because
Hollywood. I mean, that's just so unheard
I'm so
of.
negative and like so pessimistic because like I was listening to a Behind the Bastards episode on Steven Seagal, right? They had a two-parter on Steven
Birthday
Seagal.
twin, by the way.
But that's not something.
Me,
That's not a
Mandy
good
Moore.
thing.
Me, Mandy Moore, and Steven Seagal.
Cling to Mandy Moore. Cling to Mandy Moore.
I
Steven Seagal is a creep. But like he was saying how before he was famous in the 80s, he saw Kelly LeBrock, who was, gold in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was on Weird Science, right? Like she was like, yeah, I think so.
Weird Science? Hey,
I think so.
What's Kelly LeBrock from? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, we can cut all that out.
No, I love
Yelling to Chris.
referring to Chris. I think we should yell for
Hey,
Chris
Google.
in every episode. He's like our own personal Alexa.
Encyclopedia. I love it. But so he saw Kelly LeBrock in a movie or something in the 80s before he was famous. And he was just like, owning dojos and pretending to teach people karate or whatever he did at that time. And he said to someone, this is how like dumb Steven Seagal is. He was like, that woman is my destiny.
Oh.
Which you can totally
hear him
saying
Yeah,
that.
I feel like you saw that was a really good Steven
Thank
Seagal.
you.
You did good.
Thank you.
I like it.
But she was in, like, so he found out that she was in China, like, shooting a movie. So he flew to China.
Whoa.
And,
Like,
like,
that's a pretty big country, right?
I know, he's like, I'll find her. Don't worry.
I'm Steven
I'll
Seagal.
figure
I'll
it
find
out.
her.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he did. And, like, they got married.
Oh.
I mean, it didn't end as romantically as Jamie Lee Curtis and Christopher Guest because,
Yeah.
Steven Seagal.
Right.
Right. Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, but that's how that happened. And that's how Steven Seagal got famous. So thanks a lot, Kelly LeBrock.
I know. We have her
Thank
to blame
you.
for it.
Great.
Man. Well, what was your story? Your cute story? Oh, the
yeah.
Christopher Guest? That she's been married the whole time? Oh, I thought I was like, I knew that. I knew they've been married.
I didn't know they've been married too. I didn't know how they met.
I didn't know how they met either.
Oh,
I didn't
okay,
know that
okay.
that's how she
Yeah,
and she approved. She approached him like through his manager, and I think that's cute. Like it was like she was like, I got that. I'm gonna have that guy. That's gonna be my husband. And so that's her
I
friend.
want to try
think that's
that
cute.
now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
the
start
next
writing.
movie we watch together. You're like, I'm gonna marry that guy, and then you're gonna reach out to his agent, be
Exactly, and be like,
have you met my friend Christina?
That man is my destiny.
This man is my destiny.
It's like what we were talking about in the last episode. That's my pretty woman. There you go.
Oh, by the way, I was talking to Anthony this morning, and we decided that we need "Have You Met My Friend Christina" shirts, t-shirts.
Oh,
I think that'd be
my
amazing.
God, if that is our fucking merch,
Yes.
I will cry
Oh my
laughing.
God! Yes, can we do it?
Yes.
that is our next shirt.
Yeah.
we gotta get.
Who raised you
Who
shirts
raised you?
and "Have You Met My Friend
Have you
Christina"
met my
shirts.
friend?
Yes.
Fucking yes. Fucking yes.
I love it.
Yes. Why didn't we think of this before?
Oh my
This is so genius.
Anthony, that is hilarious.
Anthony
Okay,
needs to
hold
be a
on.
guest on the
He
show,
doesn't.
too.
He doesn't get credit for that. It was my idea, but I didn't
Okay.
say it to Anthony.
Keegan, you are hilarious.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I
Absolutely.
love it. How did we not think of that?
Oh my God, that is hilarious. What else do we have to talk about? What else is happening?
Lady Gaga got engaged.
Oh yeah, she did, and not to
Yes.
Bradley Cooper. I'm so sorry, Cassie.
I know.
She was. We went and saw A Star Is Born, and she was like shipping them so hard. She's like,
man.
They had
and I was
such
cutest.
natural
They did.
chemistry.
Great.
and they're like really great friends. Like,
Yeah, you can see it.
And I heard like on set, it was like super sweet. Like during one of his scenes that was really deep and like difficult and emotional, she knew that he was going to have like a really hard time with it. And so after he shot it, when he like went back to his trailer, she had bought him like 24 red roses like in his trailer, like because
That is so
I know.
sweet.
So after we saw A Star Is Born,
really love
Cassie
that.
was like, what's Bradley Cooper's deal? And I'm like, I think he's married to like some
he
young
is. And I
model.
think you're like, he had a mom. He
Yeah.
has a mom.
He's got a model wife and
Turns
like
out
a
he has
kid.
mom.
Who knew?
Just snorted. Sorry.
But so I was like, yeah, he's like married to a model and has like a baby.
Yeah.
And she's like, how long have they been married? I was like 2 years or something. And she's like, I think it's about run its course, right? Like you should get with Lady Gaga.
Look, I was just so into them. And look, I think this brings up a really great question. Can guys and girls be friends? And
We've talked about that before.
And close friends, because it's funny because as much as I'm like, oh, I'm shipping this relationship, I truly believe that you can have that kind of relationship with a guy. I mean, like I have two really great guy friends who like truly, and I'll shout them out, Michael and Maddie and my friend Jamie. And I mean, they're like, I think of them as like brothers. And I think probably outside looking in, you know, when you see a guy and a girl who have a relationship like that, it probably looks, you're like, oh God, what are those two doing? I just can't even fathom them in that
I
way.
think guys and girls can be friends.
But I think,
personally.
yeah. And I mean, I'm really good friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
We've had this conversation before. We know where Christina lands on it. And she's a no.
Here's where I stand on it now. I guess like it's been a few months since we've had that conversation. Obviously, this year has just been different for me.
For sure.
And I've dived in a lot more to this friend group. And I have to say, like, I'm great friends with your husband.
Of course. Yeah. And but like a brother.
Exactly.
And you've hung out with Chris when I've been on vacation. Yeah, right. I wish at work, like
Yeah.
on the road for work.
And he's like-
and I don't even think twice. I would never fucking think twice
he's
about
like
that. But
he's like a brother, and
Yeah.
same with Anthony.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'm
all
just
of
like,
our
he's a
guy
bro-
friends.
yeah.
Emerson is like
and
like a
I
brother
guess
to me, really.
In my statement, I mean, I was kind of talking about people that were outside of our core friendship group. Like these are people you guys don't know. I think it almost goes without saying when you're in a core group but I would hang out with any of our guys,
yeah.
even alone, and not even think twice about it.
That's the thing, though. Those are guys in our friend group who are dating like my besties, my sisters, and stuff.
Right.
So I feel okay around them. You know what I mean?
Because it feels like
Where
family.
It feels like family.
It becomes
But-
different when it's two single people or
Correct.
two people who are not
Correct.
connected in any other
and
way.
that's
Yeah.
where I think I'm like, I just don't know if I've never experienced that. I've never found an example of that where one person isn't like,
smitten.
yeah, or like, you know what, would eventually like lead to something physical. Like somebody's
If they were
going to
both
cross the
single.
line. Yeah. Where I'm like a guy and a girl, I think would be
interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Not
I
Dan.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been single in so long that I don't think I have a lot of guy friends, and I
Who
think
would
it's
literally like be like, sharks patrol these waters. Sharks patrol these waters.
Sharks haven't been here for 30 years,
25
but
years.
suddenly,
They're like-
suddenly a single, and now here they come.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I guess,
happened
you
to
know,
everyone I know that's gone
That's
through
true.
like a breakup or a divorce where like all of a sudden
Out of the
guys
woodwork.
that you thought were just friends or whatever are all of a sudden like, so what are you doing Friday night?
Yeah.
And it's
You know what? I actually...
Dude, I literally just
That
broke
actually
up
just
5
happened.
minutes
That
ago.
I mean, not just happened to me. That happened to me 5 years ago. That happened to me whenever I broke up with my ex. And we were together for like 4 years.
And everybody's like, have you met my friend Keegan?
Well, it was a guy who was good friends with my ex. Like, we hung out because he was friends with my ex. And he, like, probably a couple weeks after my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend moved.
He's like got a countdown.
I know.
clock.
He's
Like,
like,
when is it safe?
his reminder went off. He was like, oh, okay, it's safe now to
We're in the safety zone.
Facebook message Keegan. But yeah, so my ex-boyfriend had just moved back to Missouri, and he messaged me on Facebook and was just like, would you like to go on a date sometime?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's 7 days. Like,
I mean,
Bro.
but
Maybe a minute.
we'd been broken up longer than 7 days, but I don't think he would have made a move if my ex-boyfriend had stayed living in California.
but he's just like,
he's
a
like,
second.
there are like 6 states separating us now,
It's like,
so
we're
it's fine.
We're fine now.
But yeah, that's kind of how I view it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If it's somebody that's like, you know, in a committed relationship, like all the people that are in our friend group, I do not feel uncomfortable like hanging out with any of those guys one-on-one and not like feeling,
Right.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's totally fine and totally platonic, of
Yeah.
course, but two single people, like there are a couple single guys in not our core,
the outside
but
perimeter.
our outside perimeter where I'm like,
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Not safe.
yeah,
Danger,
Yeah, yeah.
danger, danger.
Danger.
I always think about it in terms of like if you were to go back home too. It's just like, you know, like if you were to go back to Columbus and like see somebody who was like single and you're single now and they'd be like, hi.
Yeah, no thanks.
Hello.
I don't think like anybody that I know from like my past that's like out there would even like entertain in the least.
I'm
honestly.
not. I wouldn't. There is no one in the fucking world that I can imagine that I'd even be remotely interested in.
Yeah,
But I guess I've been married for 13 years. I just can't. I guess I haven't thought about it, and so fucking
Those
long.
feelings are dried up and shriveled.
Those feelings haven't been around for 25 years.
yeah, but that's what's so weird is again like being out on the scene. The one recent example I can think of is with 2.0 is starting to be like, oh, okay, like this is what happens next, I guess. Like
Sure.
once you get past date 2,
Yeah.
date 3, date 4, date 5, it's like, oh, like they're now like
Different levels of expectation. and-
exactly. And I'm like, oh shit. Am I ready for this?
Got it, yeah.
It's like a whole big thing that I just had to like really think through
I
in
think
this
you would
past
be-
like couple of weeks.
I think you would be ready for it with the right person.
I agree. I
You
was
know what I mean?
just thinking the
Because
exact same thing.
The right person is going to move at your pace.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Or be okay with whatever you're
Or the
putting out.
pacing will come so natural you won't think about
Or
it.
you won't think about it. Right.
I totally agree with that. I think that there is so much to be said about that. And I tell people that all the time with Chris. It's like, when you know, you know. It's kind of going back to that Jamie Lee Curtis thing. When you know, you know. And there's so much truth to that. Like something that could seem so fast paced and so weird and awkward with one other person. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna. I mean, I told you I met Chris. I within a week was telling my mom, I'm like, after our first real date, I went and met my mom. I was like, I'm gonna marry this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like when you know, there is that. You're just no denying it, you know?
Yeah, and I'm old enough now to know the difference between like, oh, I really want to like do this person, and oh, I really like this person.
Right.
You know,
The
the difference
difference.
between like physical
Lust and
attraction.
love,
Yeah,
really. Like, yeah.
exactly. And so I know the difference between that feeling, and I just haven't really been drawn to somebody available.
Sure.
At least I will say I haven't been drawn to somebody available in that way.
But also,
since-
too, that's the thing as well, is that there's that real knowledge that you know that I think deep down your gut saying, I'm not quite ready for that
Right.
yet. So you've also been vulnerable to the guy who isn't available.
Right.
You've been almost subconsciously putting yourself, I think, in the place where you're just like, I know deep down I'm not ready. So I'm subconsciously looking for something I know it isn't going to work.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's got a clear line, where it's like I can be safe here because I know that it can't progress beyond a certain point. And so in that way, he can't hurt me. He can't betray me. He can't leave me because
the expectations
he's never
are
really here.
And the expectations were written out from the start.
Exactly.
So it's like there's only a certain amount of disappointment that can really happen there. It's not like it can't, what it is.
It's like playing a game where like the training ground or the training camp or whatever before you actually go out and like play the game. It's like the safety's on, it's fine.
You
can't get hurt.
You got the bumpers in on the bowling league.
Yeah, exactly. We need more singles in our group. No, what I need to do is get my ass to soccer.
Yeah,
you do.
Because there's some honeys at soccer, from what I hear.
Yeah. That's an untapped pool of talent.
Yeah, and they are talented.
You're like now casting.
That's why
have
I
you
don't
met my friend
go.
Christina shirt. We'll have you wear that for when you. Oh my God, when you go play soccer. Have you met my friend Christina?
Oh my God, no! Anthony's got to wear it. That's the thing. We'll make Anthony wear the "Have you met my friend Christina?"
That's his new soccer uniform.
Yes,
he's in a couple of leagues, so you've got a few. You've got a few untapped pools.
We have to get this shirt
I know.
immediately.
I know. We're gonna do it.
Okay,
that'll be our first shirt
For sure.
I love it.
By the way, you are listening to My Worst Date podcast.
Huh.
I'm Christina.
I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan. I never know who's going next. We're just like trying to make eye contact. Like who's gonna say their name?
Let's just put it out there that we will never do that correctly.
Never.
Don't expect us to.
God.
Then
I'm almost sick of explaining that we suck at it.
Right. Yeah. No.
No, you know.
what
You know at this
we
point.
should do is just like record something or whatever to
an
just
opener.
play at the beginning.
No, I like it that this is
This
like
is
our
what it is
thing.
at this point.
I like it.
I'm fine with it too. I don't care.
Listen.
Listen.
You're not here for good intros.
Yeah.
That's not why you're here.
Yeah.
Okay? You're not here
not what you're here
for that level of
I hope
professionalism.
not anyway, because if not, you would have left us a long time ago.
You guys, I have the toughest fuck, marry, kill this week.
Oh.
I have been stressing about it actually since
ready.
yesterday.
You're stressed. I'm concerned
stressed.
that you're
I
stressed.
cannot come up with an answer. It's going to have to be fly by the seat of my pants, go with gut.
Instinct. Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to be like something I'll be happy about, but I'm going to take you 90s grunge. Fuck, marry, kill.
God, such a good place.
Okay.
We're going to do Kurt Cobain,
Of course.
Yep.
Eddie Vedder,
Yep.
Okay.
Chris Cornell.
Oh, God. Oh, fuck.
Like at their height.
At their height.
Right?
Yeah, it is the 90s. You are
Oh, man.
wearing like your Blossom hat.
I know. You got me all wrong, girl. I was wearing a flannel with my Lollapalooza shirt underneath it, a thermal underneath my Lollapalooza shirt.
Dude, I wanted to
baggy
be
pants
six
that I
from
got.
Blossom so bad.
Baggy pants from that I got from the thrift store that were men's. They were corduroy blue, belted with a chain wallet.
Yes.
And my 3-stripe Adidas blue velvet suede or blue suede.
I was wearing my Spice Girls Spice World sweatshirt.
Yes.
Some platform Skechers.
This is explaining our age difference right
and
here.
a probably a scrunchie or those marble hair ties that hurt whenever you like.
Oh, I love to pull
Yeah,
out hair ties.
no,
Yeah.
I shipped 6 from Blossom like so bad. So I had like a bunch of those hats. I had a lot of like baby doll dresses
yeah.
and leggings
That's
and
cute.
like boots. And
I
stuff.
would wear
that
that
was
baby
now.
doll
my
dresses for me were for homecoming. Like I have a picture of me straight up baby doll dress, and my
combat boots, the Doc Martens.
Doc Martens, but
Yeah.
they were the brown ones. I had
Yeah.
the brown Docs, and I look like 6 from that was straight
Yeah,
up me.
you did. You
Yeah.
look like her. I did not. I was
That was me.
enormous, of course. So I was just like this giant person clogging around.
and I was like
like
you were-
tall.
yeah, I was like, wait,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. But yeah, no. So yeah, I
I don't know who to kill in this scenario.
Oh God,
That's what's hard about
think
this.
I think I got it for me anyway.
Okay, you go
for it.
first.
This is very unfortunate because I think if this was 90s me talking, this would not be this
The
way
case.
because I know 90s me would have married Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
But
that would have been a
90s
but
me would have
2018 me doesn't see it
That's-
that way.
that's
And
the issue, isn't it?
I gotta go with my 2018
Yes.
me.
Okay,
The problem
okay.
is that I was it's funny because my husband is such a huge Pearl Jam fan, and as much as I liked Pearl Jam, I was in the time I was probably more Nirvana than because I liked punk music and I liked
Right.
a little bit harder.
That was me too.
Yeah.
I definitely Nirvana was the top for me.
I mean, I was big punk, kind of punk, more punk grunge, where I think my husband was more metal grunge. Which I think drove him more into I know that's really stupid to say. It's a real music deep dive there. Anyway, I digress. 2018 me is going to kill Kurt Cobain. I'm going to fuck Chris Cornell and I think marry Eddie Vedder.
Ooh.
That's kind of where I'm feeling right now, and I'm having a really hard time saying that.
I know,
and I
'cause it was
actually
real
have
tough.
I have a friend of mine who we have a very long friendship, and it might be over.
It might be over. It might be ending right now.
It might be ending right now. Well, I don't know. It's hard. I'm with you. I think that's the difficulty about this
Yeah.
one, is because, like, of course, what girl didn't love Kurt Cobain?
Oh,
like,
I
you
know.
loved
You
this,
wanted
like,
to save him.
of course, you
so
love this troubled
much.
guy
Yeah.
who,
Yeah.
but
So talented.
But when you really think about, like, as an adult,
Like I
think
said, yeah,
about
2018 me is
having
just not there.
A relationship with Kurt Cobain.
I want your 90s answer.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
let's do both.
Okay.
Do both.
All right. Well, my 90s answer, thinking back of who I was at the time, I would have killed Eddie Vedder. I would have probably still fucked Chris Cornell, and I would have married Kurt Cobain. That's
Our
really
answers are the same. I think.
I'm
Yeah.
the exact same.
Yeah.
90s me is the same. 2018
Yeah.
me
God,
is the
wow.
same.
I think that there is
Eddie
no other
Vedder is
answer
just
than
like-
to
He
fuck
grew
Chris
on
Cornell.
me so hard, and it's funny.
Eddie Vedder seems like he has his shit together.
Yeah.
Like, he seems
So
like
smart, and
he's
he's so
smart,
talented,
and he's
and-
super talented,
Yeah.
and he would be a good husband.
would be
Yeah.
a good man.
Everything I know about
A better
him,
man, would you say?
Would you
Better man.
would you say he was a better man?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
And it's funny because you look at guys like Chris Cornell or
Part of me, it's
you know.
really tight between like
Yeah.
fuck and Mary,
I
honestly,
agree.
because like
I love Chris
there's
Cornell. They're
so
so
much
hard for
about
me.
him that I was like,
Yeah.
so loved.
Yeah.
So loved. And yeah, it's just
You know what's
tragic
funny?
what happened.
And Chris is just, I mean, like I keep telling him he needs to have a music podcast because the guy is like a musical.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like his brain in music, it's just it's ridiculous. But it's funny because when we watched A Star Is Born, first of all, there was I think a lot of parallels for him in his own personal life as far as alcoholism, drug addiction, and then of course then suicide for him in his own personal life, and you know
Chris
his
Cornell
stepdad.
in the Bradley Cooper.
But then for him, he was like, God, can you imagine me and Chris Cornell's wife watching this? Or like, and he was just like, it felt so like fresh after like what happened, and just he was like, it just was really
Yeah, I saw
tough
a
to
friend of
watch.
mine, actually, Imari, who we were just talking about.
Funny.
She did a Facebook status after she saw A Star Is Born, and I think this is valid, where she said, I'm going to do this because no one is doing this, and everybody is like, go see A Star Is Born. But you guys should know
Trigger
that
warning.
there needs to be a trigger warning here,
agree.
that it's dealing with substance abuse, it's dealing with suicide, and if it's something that you have personal experience with, or maybe you're very sensitive about,
It's tough to watch.
know that it's coming, because it can be tough to watch and then make that decision. Like,
Yeah.
I almost literally like wanted to like crawl into my seat that award show.
oh God, I don't do
was-
secondhand embarrassment.
which by the way,
The
guys,
worst.
we should have said a
alert.
spoiler alert. Yeah,
But I'm not going to say what happened, but like
Yeah.
that award show part was just
Yeah.
like, oh my God,
God,
I
I-
wanted to die.
Chris is not a guy who I would say hides his emotions. He does wear his heart on his sleeve. He is absolutely the guy who has no problems having a tear come up and has no apologies for having emotions. But this is the first time I've had something that was outside of our actual own personal lives that I actually saw him witness that made me be like, wow, he got really.
what was it? The Chris Cornell?
Well, the Chris Cornell thing,
Or the movie?
the
Or
movie,
both?
the movie,
Okay.
the movie, and
Yeah.
well, of course, the Chris Cornell thing when that happened, when Anthony Bourdain died. But I think the watching that movie was one of those things that just kind of brought up so many past things for him, and it was just like, but
Here's my.
it's
This brings
tough.
up a
It
thing.
is tough. It should come with a trigger warning.
Yeah.
When you're dating somebody, because I did. I went to see that movie like kind of on a date, and he was like relatively unaffected. And I kind of feel the same way. It's like if you watch like a movie like Up with somebody,
Oh, God,
and you don't
and you
sob for
cry,
the
and
first
you don't
20
like-
minutes.
No,
Like
if they
you're
don't,
up
if
or
they if
something,
they don't
I'm
cry
like-
through the first 20 minutes of Up, we can't be together.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
date.
yeah.
You might be a cyborg.
Cyborg.
I don't think I believe that you're a human.
Are you actually?
And I'm not saying you got to sob, but I
but
do
it's
feel like,
just like
you should at least be
You
showing
should be
some emotion.
affected. You should be
Exactly.
affected by that.
Or you're a serial killer. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Well, and it also shows that you're okay, like feeling and expressing those emotions.
I was
feel
actually-
like, which is a thing for me.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
don't
was
bottle
reading
it
a
up.
thing. Actually,
Yeah.
why don't I read it right now? Because
Can I speak to that real quick? Because the funny thing is, when I met Chris, I came from a house of not showing emotions, which and I also know how to hide my tears. It's roll your eyes up, tongue to the roof of your mouth. Anybody who wants to just swallow the tears down, that's how you do it. So meeting somebody like a Chris was actually a really fucking great thing for me, not just in so many ways, but it actually, I think I had more toxic masculinity than Chris did ever. I mean, he is just one of those people who can have emotion and can wear his heart in his sleeve.
Yeah.
And it was, for me, it was almost more uncomfortable for me early on to have a guy in my life who was like showing
Super
emotion.
sensitive.
Not
Right.
super sensitive, but somebody who
but
showed
sensitive.
emotion.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is like people have a hard time with the term toxic masculinity because they think that you mean that all masculinity is toxic.
No.
And that's not what that is.
No,
so
not at all.
To speak to that, actually, I saw a thing. I actually saved it on my Facebook today because I'm in like a Parks and Rec group on Facebook because I freaking love that show. That
love
show is
that
so
show.
great.
I never watched
It is
It's
so
so
good.
funny.
It is so
Okay.
funny.
So good.
It is so funny.
I'll go back.
And somebody had written into Nick Offerman, who plays Ron Swanson on that
Fucking
show.
love that
He's
guy.
amazing. He's so funny.
So funny.
Love that guy.
And somebody wrote in, he did like a Q&A, and they said, "You're synonymous with being a man's man. What was the last thing that made you cry?" And he said, "I went to theater school. I took 2 semesters of ballet. I'm the sissy in my family. I cry with pretty great regularity. It's not entirely accurate to equate me with manliness. I stand for principles and I work hard and have good manners, but machismo is a double-sided coin. A lot of people think it requires behavior that can quickly veer into misogyny and things I consider indecent. We've been sold this weird John Wayne mentality that fistfights and violence are vital to being a man. I'd rather hug than punch. Crying is something that moves you to joy or sadness is just as manly as chopping down a
Amen.
tree or punching out a bad guy. To answer your question, I recently saw Alicia Keys perform live. I'd never seen her before, and the sheer golden heavenly talent issuing from her and her singing instrument had both my wife and I in tears. What a gorgeous gift she has. Her voice is so great, and I had no shame about crying. If you live your life openly with your emotions, that's a more manly stance than burying them."
I love that
Amazing.
so
Yeah.
much. That's exactly
Wow.
what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because,
Wow.
yeah. And
That's incredible.
Yeah.
they,
What a
as a
fucking
couple,
amazing-
how
Amazing.
much do we love them
I
as a
so
couple?
love them as a couple.
So
Yeah.
much.
So he is obviously like just so head over heels for her.
I
And
just
if
saw
you
that
guys
they have an
don't know,
Audible book together,
they-
and I haven't checked it out very much, but I want to check it out.
Yeah,
If you listeners don't know, yes,
funny.
download Audible.
That's not what I was going for, but
But let's all download Audible.
Use your
Slash
free
my
trial.
worst date.
Yeah, use your free trial to get this book. And if you guys don't know, Nick Offerman is married to Megan Mullally,
Yeah.
who is Karen in Will and Grace, and she's so funny.
They're so
she's
cute
also
together.
in Parks and Rec.
I love how much
That's
they love
hilarious.
each other, and I think
Yeah.
that's what I really
Yeah,
like.
I want that. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's
You
what
want
I'm
your Nick
looking for.
Offerman.
I want my Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
I love him. He's so funny, but he's yeah. And also, yes, check out Parks and Rec because it is.
Is it weird?
So-
It's really weird that I never. It's one of those things that I think when it came out, I think I tried to watch the first episode, but I think I had a lot of things on my plate at the
Right.
time, so I just
It's
didn't
also
get to.
one
Takes
of
a minute
those-
to warm
Yes.
up too. You're
Yes.
like, wait, what is this going
Yeah,
on?
it's
It took
one of
me
those that
a few episodes.
takes a minute. And also, like, if you rewatch, like, I restarted from the beginning, which I've done a couple times with that show. It is so interesting because it's so improv based that these characters change and evolve like so much as you watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
So the beginning is not really like indicative of what the show is going to be.
Because-
So
Got
go in a season before it's like you really start.
I feel like I have to watch it from the beginning, though.
Yeah,
No, you do.
have to.
Do.
Yeah, yeah.
Watch it
yeah.
from the beginning,
but
but
just know it's going to take you a minute.
Well, the great thing is I travel so much, so if I'm not in a car listening to a podcast or an Audible or something like that, I am in my hotel room, like either
it's
finishing
perfect.
up work and having like kind of something on, or just
it's great for that.
Yeah,
like,
it's
Perfect for that. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
Well, let's go ahead and take 5, and
Yes.
then we'll get back with stories.
Awesome. Okay, we're back.
Yay! I know it's
Welcome.
your favorite.
I know.
They were bad.
All right, so I'm going to start us off, and you guys are very excited about this story.
Excited and
'cause you're
scared.
a good storyteller, first of all.
You are.
Aw, thanks.
And when you tell your own stories, I'm like, I could, and that's why I'm like, when you cut to there, like, are always like, you guys need to share more of your shame receipts. I'm like, I am the worst at like telling my own stories. For some reason, you're so good at it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
You're just a good storyteller.
Oh, well,
It's a gift.
Yeah. There we go.
You're gifted.
Well, now the pressure's on.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot. I hope this doesn't
Wow.
suck. Okay, well, this is a shame receipt for me.
Oh.
This is a
Okay.
story of me being a terrible date.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. This happened years and years ago, back when I was at Shadow. And let me preface this by saying I have alluded to the fact that I was awkward in high school and that I, grew to the height that I was at very young, and I was bookish and weird, and of course wrote random pornography about crushes and stuff. So, just picture that as a teenager. So I did not have a lot of dates in high school. I didn't have like a lot of experience. So cut to being new at a young group of theater people. And it was just like
Relatable.
Yeah.
lots of boys and all of a
whole
sudden I
new
was
world.
pretty and I did not know
You had to
what
reinvent
do with
yourself.
It. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was, I was dipping my toe in the water in a lot of different water. I was like, this pool. But what about this hot tub?
Yeah.
What about this?
Trying to figure out what you liked, like what your thing was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was it was almost like high school for me, honestly, because I didn't do high school in high school. So I was like a
brand new awakening.
Yeah. So cut to the fact that the theater company that I worked at was located in Columbus, Ohio, and we had a sister company that was located in Cincinnati. And that had just opened right before I started. So that whole time I didn't really know any of the people that were down there, but they were friends with the people that were in the company with me. So they came up one weekend or whatever. We like hung out. We got to meet some of the Cincinnati people. And that's where I met this really cool, funny guy. And I was like, oh, this guy's fun. And we were like hanging out and we were laughing and everything. And I thought he was super fun. And then I met his roommate. And his roommate, I thought, oh, he's really cute. He was tall, dark, and handsome, very, very mysterious, and like quoted a lot of like poetry and stuff, which at the time I thought was like,
Maybe you were very deep and interesting.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
so deep and tortured artist, And so I didn't want to, because I was young and awkward at the time. I was like, well, I can't just tell him I like him and invite him to come up and hang out. So I went the circular route.
You went to the funny friend.
I went to the funny friend. And this is what makes me a terrible date.
Oh, no.
Is that I think I fully knew that funny friend was feeling me.
Oh.
And I invited him up for the weekend and basically got him to agree to bring his roommate along. Because I was like, it'll keep you company on the
I've
drive.
definitely been there, dude. I've definitely done something similar. I know I have.
So,
Oh, for sure. Oh, God. I'm so
funny
frightened.
friend was super excited to spend a weekend coming up, and he thought that I was into
You were
him.
inviting him.
I thought
Yeah.
I was.
Oh, no.
This makes me. I have such shame over this. I can't even. So, roommate comes with him and is like, whatever. Funny friend gets there within 10 minutes. Roommate and I are in my bedroom.
Oh, no.
And funny friend is in the living room right outside my bedroom listening to me and roommate do the deed.
Oh, my God.
And he just sits there and he watches a movie with my roommate
Oh, no.
while I'm getting drilled by his roommate.
Oh,
God.
Oh no. And in your 20-year-old mind, you're like, you're thinking of this is the logical way to get this guy here, and not
exactly.
thinking
I'm
about the
like,
collateral
I'm not
damage of that.
Not thinking at all about the fact that like people have feelings, or you know what I mean, or
I've
even
definitely
being
done
like direct,
similar
and being like,
stuff.
Hey, roommate, I actually kind of like you.
And you can rationalize it because you're just kind of like, you know, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything wrong because it's not like you promised funny friend anything. It's not like, you know, you knew like on a subconscious, maybe not so subconscious level that like he wanted to be with you, but you can really rationalize that away by being like, well, we're just friends and I just invited him over and I didn't promise him anything. And like, you know, so
like you're young,
you know.
and I'm like, I feel awful. But he told the story at the party. The last, he told it. Yeah. Yeah. And was like, or I'll have to bleep that out, but he was like, holy crap. It was like, he is still like
upset about it. That's fucking ridiculous though. Listen,
the way he told it and everything like that was
if it has been this many years,
and I was like, I fucking forgot all about it.
Oh no.
But then as soon as he reminded me, I was like, oh, I mean, we talked about that last week. I was like, I know I've been a terrible date to some people, and I was like, not that I didn't even really think that it was a date.
First
it wasn't
of all, it wasn't
a date to me.
a date. And but I do think that that's something that's interesting to point out is that like different experiences. One experience can have a different impact on two different people.
It's a different story.
That you didn't even remember has stuck with him. And I know that because I think back to some of my own shame receipts. Yeah. Like little things that have happened, tiny things that will pop into your mind at the most inopportune moments. Like you'll be driving your car and you're just like, whoa, like that thing happened, right? And I guarantee you that the other people involved or who were there at that time don't even remember it. You know, but it's like something that like one of those little things that just sticks with you forever.
But like as soon as he told the story, I was like, I remembered the wood paneling on the living room. Like I remembered like I was like,
it all came back in a flood.
It did. It came back in a flood, and I was like, oh my God, I remember. And then I just like, of course, like I'm such an empathetic person. I went through my selfish phase in my 20s and stuff now, but now I'm like sitting there like imagining like being him on the couch, like listen, and my heart breaks. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But I mean, I can at the time. I mean, it was just crazy. So that's
you live and you learn. And I understand that like you feel bad about it, but also like it is for him too. It's a live and learn kind of experience, and he shouldn't still be carrying that around. You know what I mean? Like,
awkward. So there you go. There's my shame receipt for the week. That's me, the terrible date. So
God. Well, you know what? Actually, I know we were thinking about doing a whole episode on this, but while we're telling our own stories, I'm going to go ahead and do this now. So,
I'm so excited.
And they're not dates because I was talking to Christina last night about like how she's like, I want you guys to tell more of your own stories, and I'm like, well, I don't really have any. However, what I did say to her was that my first kiss, both my first kiss, which happened when I was 16 because I was a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. So both my first kiss and a guy who took me to military ball whenever I was 16 or 17. Or no, I had to have been older than that. I was like 17 probably.
So two different guys.
Mm-hmm. They are both in prison right now.
Oh, whoa.
So, you guys let me know if you want those to be one story or two separate stories.
I don't know. How long are they? I don't know.
We'll do two separate stories just to make it like
okay.
So we'll talk about the guy that was my first kiss.
Okay.
So,
I
lived in Utah at the time. I had just moved to Utah from Missouri. I'd left all my friends behind. We moved whenever I was 15. And we lived in a very, very small, like, military base that was in the middle of nowhere. Literally, when we were first driving to this military base, we drove through a mountain, and then my mom was concerned. She actually called my dad, because my dad had been living there for like a year or so. And she called my dad because we were watching the mile markers count down.
Yeah.
And usually the mile markers, like, you know, if you're at 1, you're 1 mile into the state or whatever. We were at mile marker 0. That is where this place was. And it was literally in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing. And then you see a Mormon church, because you're not allowed to have, they wouldn't be allowed to have a Mormon church on the base. You can't have any kind of
religious affiliation.
Yeah,
on the base,
specific religious affiliation. You can have a chapel that doubles as everything. So that's what we had. And so you'd see the Mormon church, and then there was like a barricade, and then a security checkpoint, and then they called it a village. That's how small it was. The space was the size of Rhode Island, but it was a testing space. So every now and again, you would hear, like, way out in the middle of nowhere, you would hear or feel like the ground rumble or hear like something go off. Because the actual place people lived was a village. It was so small. There weren't a lot of people there.
Sure.
And it was
I want to
largely
hear like crazy military stories from you.
So many crazy stories. There's actually a thing.
You've totally seen an alien.
This is taking,
I know you have.
Well, no, this is taking a turn, but actually...
But actually, I did see an alien.
No.
And the guy that I went to the military abroad with was an alien.
No. But no, I have not seen an alien. However, people believe that this place that I lived, I'll say it, whatever. It's called Dugway Proving Grounds. People believe that it is actually Area 51. There's a guy who used to he'd wear different wacky disguises to try and get onto the base. He has a website where he used to called Alien Dave. Because he was convinced that there was
hiding aliens.
There was like alien experiments going on.
Oh my God, I love everything going on
I know.
right now.
So I lived there.
Conspiracies, aliens, prison, Keegan.
So many things.
Keegan.
So I lived there for a couple of years, and it was a largely civilian base, and we were a military family. So most of the people who lived there were Mormon, and I was also homeschooled at the time, and I didn't really want to go to the public school there, and so it was kind of isolating. You know, I spent a lot of time with my mom, and we would drive back and forth 45 minutes over the mountain to the closest town, which was not like it wasn't a big town, but it was good times as far as like me and my mom had great times together. Yeah. You know, on those drives.
You guys bonded a lot.
Yeah, we bonded a lot, and we would go, you know, several times a week. And we would always go, there was an Applebee's in the town. And there were only a few restaurants. And so we would always go to Applebee's. We'd bring games. We'd bring and we'd sit for like hours and play games. And,
that's
you
fun.
know, so it was a good time. But we went to this Applebee's so much that my mom was known by name. Like I was known by name. There was a guy who worked there. Looking back, I'm like, Keegan, why? No, I know why. I know why. Because he had like really beautiful blue eyes, like bright, bright blue eyes. And he was like... dark hair, and he was charming, and he worked as like
and he was into you,
and he worked as a host, and you know, maybe a little bit, like we flirted a little bit, but like I was there so much, and he was so tiny. I remember that too, is like he was like skinnier than me too, and he had like this is when I should have known better, but I was 16 or 15 or 16, and he got a Fighting Irish tattoo.
Like Notre Dame?
A Fighting Irishman like tattoo on his like skinny little arm. And so I'm like, Keegan, you should have known better at that point. But so I was looking to get my first job, and I was like, I want to get off of Dugway so bad. There's nothing to do there.
Right.
So I went in and applied to work at Applebee's because we were there all the time.
Yeah.
And the guy, the manager was like, so you're like asking us to give you your first job? And I was like, yeah. So I started working there when I was 16 as a hostess.
Yeah.
Started hanging out with that guy. We would do things like, if the weather was really bad, I would, you know, make up an excuse to not drive back through the mountain in the snow, which ended up being a really good thing because the next year I got into a really bad accident on that mountain.
Oh no.
Yeah, flipped my car and everything. Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
But before that, I would, you know, stay the night with my friend, and she would have parties where like everybody from Applebee's would go, right? It was like one of those things.
Yeah.
So at one of those parties, this guy and I would be like kind of hanging out. I was so innocent and awkward, you guys. So naive, and like just not, I had never kissed a boy at 16.
Right.
I'd never been on like a real date
Yeah.
or anything like that. And he, like, we, you know, kind of like sort of made out the way that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a 16-year-old getting her first kiss would make out, and like talked for a while. It didn't really end until my car accident and I had to quit my job.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few years later, I'm living back in Missouri. We'd moved back. Some guy from the restaurant, he gets me on MySpace. Sends me a message on MySpace.
Yes.
And we start kind of chatting like back and forth. And he was just like, so have you heard about the guy? And I was like, no. And he was like, yeah, well, he's in prison. And I was only like 18. So this would have put that guy at like
2 years later.
This would have put that guy at like maybe like 20. Oh. You know, like pretty young.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what happened? And it turned out that he had been like chatting with, sexting, and ended up statutory raping a 13-year-old girl. Oh, no. Yeah, when he was like 20. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that was my first kiss. And I tried to like find him after that, but I realized later that I'm like, I don't even think I knew his last name, and his first name were initials. So I'm sure it was like short for something.
Yeah.
So there was no way that I could like even track him down later.
Oh
but,
my God.
yeah, so forever, for all time, guys, choose wisely, because forever, for all time, my first kiss will be this guy, who I think if he is out of prison now, he might be, but he was in prison for a significant period of time and gave me many red flags that I should have acknowledged, but it was one of those things where I was like 16 and a guy liked me and he was like paying attention to me and I was like weird and awkward and he was cute.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
We
excuse a lot for cute when you're in your 20s.
Yeah, or your teens.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
if you haven't been given attention like that, or if you're starved for attention, like I didn't have friends because I was homeschooled. I lived in Dugway, Utah. I didn't have anyone.
Yeah, so you don't have girlfriends being like, ew, nah.
Yeah,
it's gross.
Or cute guys,
right.
appropriate guys that I'm going to high school with who are like my age, who aren't creeps.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, you don't have that. And I should have known because he would text me. Okay, here's something that happened. He once texted me. This is how naive I was. This is a good example. He texted me something about coming, like C-U-M.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. Like, I thought he was asking me to, like, come over. Like, I didn't understand that, like, he had to explain it to me. So that's where we were at.
That's a turn on.
Wow.
So I
You're
didn't
like,
know.
why do you want eggplant?
I don't understand. It was before emojis, but, like,
Yeah, that's
but
true.
yeah, I just didn't know. And, like, I should have
Man,
been
with
able
your
to
little
read that.
sidekick.
Yeah, I had a Moto Razor.
Oh, hell yeah. We all did.
A pink one. It was
Yeah.
great. But yeah, so there's my own high school story.
Thank you for sharing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
My first kiss is actually like a bummer too. I was 12. It was like sweet. It was like a truth or dare situation on the playground. Went to find him years later on MySpace. Some like grade school people had like friended me or whatever. Found out he had gone to Iraq. Oh, he got PTSD and he killed himself.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
And he was a really nice, really sweet kid. He was always nice to me and stuff too. Like, even throughout high school, like even when I wasn't very popular or whatever. He wasn't super popular, but I mean he was always nice.
That is so sad.
And like even though I was like really unpopular at that time at 12, like he didn't do like he had spun on me or whatever and kissed me or whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't make it like a thing. You
Like,
know what I mean?
ew.
Yeah. So I always like think very fondly.
That is
of
so
him.
sad.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sad.
I know.
That sucks.
Yeah.
How was your first kiss, Cassie?
I'm trying to remember mine. It's really weird, isn't it? I'm trying to think. The first guy, I think this was my first kiss. It actually was a kid I was just smitten with. And I don't know. I really liked him. It was one of those things where like, I feel like I was like in 5th grade or 6th grade maybe. And I was really smitten with him. And he wasn't a popular kid. He wasn't like the kid who, whatever. I just really liked him. And I ended up kind of pursuing him and was like, let's go to this 6th grade dance. We had a girl who was like
middle school
yeah,
dances.
like a middle school dance.
I've got some
And
pictures for you guys on my phone of middle school dances.
really, I remember the dress I wore. I remember the dress I wore. This is the thing about me. I won't remember so many details of my life, but I'll remember what I wore. I was wearing it was like a velvet, a dress that was velvet on top, and then the bottom was like a flow out skirt that was like, had like a crinoline underneath it. Oh yeah. Red crinoline, black on top, white skirt with black polka dots that were velvet.
That's so cute.
With a red sash.
That's so cute.
Dude, I remember that. And then this kid, I was just super smitten with him. And I think our first kiss was at the rec center. Like they had like a little, like area kind of out away from the rec center. And I mean, he was just cute. It was cute and sweet and innocent and young. And it was like an episode of like the cutest, like Wonder Years episode. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
You have the ideal experience.
And the funny thing is like years later, he's gay and, you know, totally different direction. But I'm like, it makes sense why Miss Fashion Sense was like totally went after the guy who was like this sweet little guy who probably also liked my outfit as much as I did.
I love hearing
so
about
sweet.
people's first kisses and where like if
they are now.
If you guys
Yeah.
have stories about like where your first kisses are now, whether it be like sweet or not so sweet, I'd be so interested in like hearing that because you freeze a moment in time and you don't realize what's going to happen like in the future. You're just not thinking that far ahead.
I actually do wonder. I kind of want to look him up. I can't even remember what his last name is 100%. Like I'd have to really think about it. God, that was so long ago. But yeah, I really liked him all through school that I remember going to school with him. So, I mean, he was just a really fucking nice guy. And
Okay.
I know. I'm like, I have the most uneventful story.
That sucks that yours is like tainted.
Well, yours
that makes
is kind
me
of
mad.
too a little bit.
Yeah, mine
But
is too.
but I mean, you don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does
You're
suck,
young,
but
you're young and, you know, innocent. And,
Right.
can't take it back. Got to be careful about like who you choose.
Yeah.
All right, what's
brilliant.
yours, Cass?
Well, God, as I told you, I mean, I am chock full of stories. I just don't have really good ways to say them or tell them. Maybe I'll tell you later what it is, and then you can tell me a good way to share that story.
Oh, okay.
I have a few shame receipts for sure. I just am not real good at like.
Oh my God! Well, keep listening. We're gonna
dig 'em out of
We're
me?
gonna dig them out. Of
Got
Cassie.
it.
We're gonna do some hypnosis.
Deep dive.
Deep dives. This story actually comes from a write-in from an email that we got. She'd actually sent us multiple stories, and one of them I'm going to share on the Shorties episode too. So
okay.
But this one says, I'm actually going to read her opener. She says, I am a 23-year-old woman who unfortunately is afflicted with Pickham's disease, also known as you sure know how to pick 'em.
Nice.
Here's a couple short stories from bad dates that I'd love for you to use if you're interested. Yes, we are interested. So this is one of them. She calls the story TMI, which already I'm like, yep, here for it.
Into it.
Yep.
Yes. Never. It's never too much information.
Never too much information.
We
Tell
always
us.
want
I
more
mean,
information.
It is if you're on a first date with
Exactly.
somebody.
Oh.
Feeling it already.
Okay. Sorry.
She says, this is a stint in online dating. This time she met the guy on Tinder. Met this guy at a coffee shop in town. After chatting online for a bit, I like to jump pretty quickly to meeting in person to not waste my time.
Amen.
Smart.
I get that. I get it. I get my latte and he seems normal at first, but he won't shut the fuck up about motorcycles. What kind he has, what he can do with it, what motorcycles his friends have, what they've done together, the motorcycle on the market, motorcycle parts, motorcycle riding tactics,
my God.
motorcycles in movies. Like, why doesn't this guy marry his motorcycle at this point?
Jesus Christ.
You love it so much. Why don't you marry it?
I can
Meet a girl at a motorcycle convention.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't bring a normal, average person into that shit.
He's just so into it. That's all he's got to talk about.
Oh, my God.
I can see
That's
that.
what we were talking about though, like
You get
earlier
so
with you
invested in
and
a
Chris,
thing.
and
Yeah.
it was like you're talking about like you guys are both Bengals fans or sports fans. It's like you
but you
connect
have
on that.
to know
but
if
it's like,
someone is engaging with you.
that is like
you know what
your
I mean? Like,
passion, like put that out there, put it in your Tinder bio, put it in your chats.
that would
like,
be
are
me
you
about
into
podcasts. I'm like, do you want to have a fucking 3-hour conversations about podcasts?
Yes,
Right.
exactly. And it's like there's tons of people
Who are into it, yeah.
who are into it.
But you
It's
have to
not like
know
his
when you're
hobby
talking.
is weird.
Yeah.
But you have to know right away. Like you do know when you're talking to someone and they're just like blank staring you, like waiting
yeah.
for you to be done.
like tapping their wrist.
yeah, like you
done yet?
know
Yeah.
when they're not interested.
That's me when I'm talking to Handyman about true crime.
And he's just like,
okay.
oh,
Glaze over.
when
Like-
is this over?
Exactly.
Anyway, back to the date. She said, why doesn't the guy get married his motorcycle? So funny, by the way. But suddenly, out of nowhere, possibly sensing that I'm getting sick of the motorcycle talk, she puts in parentheses, cool. That's neat. Responses didn't tip him off sooner. I don't know.
Yeah, right?
We start talking about food. I'm vegan and worked at a natural foods co-op at the time. And he suddenly blurts out, I like eating vegetables because this new medication makes me constipated.
Okay.
Sir.
I looked at him. He's swirling his coffee and staring down at it. Pause. And I think I said something like, okay. To this day, I regret asking him why the fuck he thought that. I regret asking him why the fuck he thought that was something he thought was cool to share.
Or not asking?
Yeah.
Like, she regrets not asking that.
Yeah, she says asking, but
yeah.
I'm assuming she means not
Typo,
asking.
yeah.
Needless to say, I made another shitty excuse and booked it. Good luck with your poops, Hell's Angel boy.
So hold on. He said he didn't like eating.
He loves eating
loves eating
vegetables.
But he can't. No, he can't. I'm sorry. Reread that part.
He said he loves eating vegetables because the medication that he's on constipates him, so the vegetables help him shit.
You know what?
Basically.
I have to say, like, this guy to me
So
just
funny.
sounds like somebody who was so awkward that you know how like you can get like diarrhea of the mouth whenever
Yeah.
you're just like,
Well, he doesn't have diarrhea of
super-
anything else.
Yeah.
Ayo.
Whenever you're like super uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you either just rattle, because
Yes.
both of those things, just like rattling on about something you know something about, because
Yeah.
you're like, no awkward silences.
Yeah.
And then also oversharing are both things where he was just fucking nervous.
Oh, so
you know?
nervous.
Yeah. Like,
No,
that's a nervous person.
I can get that. I would definitely probably, especially when you're with somebody who you think is maybe out of your league, and you're like,
Yeah.
or
Or
she
she
I
likes
told you
to
about the
meet-
time that I.
She likes to meet right away, and maybe
Yeah.
like he didn't know her well yet and wasn't sure like how to engage with someone. You don't get
Right.
a sense of that, you know, if you meet right away. Like, so he's just like,
Poor awkward guy.
Anthony
so
told
funny.
me once that he was talking to a girl like in middle school, right? Like talking to a girl who was like his middle school girlfriend or just someone he went
Yeah.
like on a middle school date with. And he was like, we had a phone conversation and it was awkward. So the next time we had a phone conversation, he had like
Notes.
like bullet points of like topics.
12-year-old Anthony making
Yeah.
notes to talk to a
Yes.
girl.
Yes.
It makes my heart
Like bullet
hurt.
points of
Bless
like
my
he's
heart.
like, all right,
I
well, we talked
see
about
his
that
like
thing.
12-year-old handwriting. Oh my
I
god.
can't. I do have a funny story now that actually prompted something out of my brain hole.
Yes.
I have a story about this, and I don't know how I didn't think of it earlier because it totally leads into this leading guys on thing. There was a guy I went to school with, cute, again, probably middle school, maybe early, maybe freshman year kind of thing, like maybe 8th grade, 9th grade type grade. And it was over the summer, and this kid was, I had a lot of guy friends, which also probably is part of the reason I was big into sports because I had a lot of guy friends. And he was kind of a peripheral friend in the group. And he was a nice guy, but I just, I'm not that into you. And he was really super into me. And I think probably subconsciously now looking back, I probably let him on a little bit, like
Right.
liking the attention and whatever.
Of course.
Yeah.
And he called me one time on the phone, and I was really so I was a super nerd too. I grew up, I would listen to records, like oldies, oldies records in my room. My parents had like the Time Life classics albums,
Yes.
and I would play like old, like, Everly Brothers and things like that. And he called me one time on the phone and played a song over the phone to me. And like the phone, and I literally in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I hate, and it was like, I think it was like Kathy's Clown or something
But like
stupid like that.
looking back,
I
that's like
know.
the sweetest thing
In
ever.
my head, though, at the time, I was like, ugh, gross. And I remember telling my dad later, like, he played this song. Like, it was like, and I'm thinking this poor kid is probably like, just like Anthony, writing down these notes of like things that he knows about me that I must like, and knowing that I
and,
like
the fact that he knew you were interested in that,
But
and
he
like
played like
bothered.
a one song that I'm like, ugh, gross. Like,
Oh my
I
God.
hate that song.
Oh my god, did you guys
Precious
ever get
baby.
like mixtapes or mixed CDs
Oh,
from
yeah.
a guy?
I was the queen of making them.
Oh,
like
I
a guy
loved
that I
making a
guy that
mixtape.
I dated. He was going off to college, and I did a thing where I asked all of his friends for I made one like a road trip CD because I knew he was going to be driving from Missouri to Tennessee. And so I made one of those, and then I asked all of his friends like what songs they would want to put on it. Sweet. And then I made a mixtape of his friends, like songs that remind him of his friends. And then like on the thing, it was like this song, like Dash Thomas, like, you know, like, you know.
Yeah.
I want you to be my girlfriend. Will you make me a mix CD?
God, I mean, he
birthday?
didn't deserve it.
That's a lost
I was
art,
way more
man.
into him than he was into me, I think. But
Well, here's like a tidbit pre-podcasting, but I have one of those stereos that had the double tape decks.
Oh, yeah,
This is
yeah,
how fucking
totally.
old I am. Is that when you wanted to record
Yes,
a song?
I did that.
Yeah, you had to.
Yes.
And so me and a friend like had our own radio station where we recorded the songs from the radio, and we were our own DJs for it.
The funny thing is, my really good friend Sarah, that I mean, friends since we were 5 years old, we used to sit, I remember this, underneath my table. I feel like we were the first podcasters. We would sit with a tape recording and make radio shows together and talk back and forth. And we would record them on like our little tape player and do like a little radio show.
And you were like bomb. I used to do it on like Casey Kasem, like Top 40. And you were like bomb if you could get it recorded at the start and at the end with no commercial.
Yep.
Like you had to get it. You stood there, you waited, and like hit that stop button.
Yes.
Right whenever it stopped, and you didn't cut off any of the beginning. Like if you could do that, you were like queen of making your own tapes.
Oh my
Like,
God,
I
you
did
guys,
that.
it was meant to be.
I know.
hilarious.
I know.
Well,
Amazing.
Introducing new Benefion's Wrinkle Smoothing Eye Cream by Shiseido. Now even better to boost smoothness around the eyes. 96% saw reduced wrinkles and diminished dark circles in just 7 days. Find Shiseido Benefion's Wrinkle Smoothing Eye Cream at a Macy's near you. Tested by 110 women.
are you guys ready to be crazy?
I am soups ready.
I am ready for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but we'll just dive in. Let me know if you have.
Yes.
Okay. This is the case of Jasmine Richardson.
Okay.
Triggering any bells?
Not
so
yet.
far?
Not yet.
Okay. It's back in 2006. The Richardson family is a normal family living in Medicine Hat, Canada.
Medicine Hat.
Yeah. They're there. Mark and Deborah are the parents. They're like in their 40s. They have 12-year-old Jasmine Richardson and 8-year-old
Oh, I fucking
Jacob.
know this story. Oh, God. Okay. All right.
I feel like it's starting to ring a little bit of a bell, but I'm not there yet.
I'm afraid. Continue.
I'm feared.
So, they're just like a normal family, and Jasmine's like kind of into music, and she's starting to like pick her own stuff to be interested in, which at 12 I feel like is normal. Like you're getting away from your parents' interests and your parents' music, and you're starting to find your own. So she started wanting to go to concerts and everything like that, and they were like, that's fine. And one of them would go with her.
Sure.
Well, they went to a punk concert, and that's where Jasmine met a guy named Jeremy Steinke.
Which, that last name alone is a cause for
That's
concern.
a red flag.
Let's talk about Jeremy Steinke. Jeremy Steinke is 23 years old.
She's 12.
She's 12.
And we should say,
And-
not that this matters at all, but if you see pictures of her when she was 12, she looks a lot older.
This is ringing bells.
We'll go into this. But yeah, he was 23. Jeremy Steinke has a little bit of a troubled past. His mother is an alcoholic. She had cycled through several boyfriends who were physically and verbally abusive towards him, doing things like even at 2 years old, if he were to act up, one of the guys would pick him up by his ears and put him in his room.
Oh my God. Oh, I just had like a real visceral reaction to that.
Yeah. Pick up a 2-year-old by his
my
ears.
God. Oh my God.
So, I mean, stuff like that, that
my
kind
God.
of trauma stays with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and he had several times like told his mother that he wanted to die. He even attempted to hang himself. He dropped out of school at 10th grade. So you can kind of get a sense of
Got a
where
picture of
his
this
mental
person.
capacity is.
Sure.
Now, Jeremy at this punk concert, let me describe him to you. Kind of bald guy wearing a lot a lot of guy liner.
And we're talking 2006.
2006.
That shit was also
Yeah.
like in.
Yeah.
Like guy liner was making a real
super
comeback.
goth. He would
Big
wear
emo.
a vial of blood around his neck.
All right.
And he
Listen, Angelina Jolie,
Come the fuck on. Yeah.
calm down.
and he told everyone he met that he was a 300-year-old werewolf.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out, Jeremy. No. You are not.
You are not a werewolf. You're not a werewolf.
So this is the guy that 12-year-old Jasmine
shit.
meets, is that this 300-year-old werewolf.
werewolf.
And look, although I have to be honest, we just talked about how naive I was growing up. Like 12-year-old me, a lot of guy liner, and you're telling me you're a 300-year-old werewolf, I'd probably be like,
You're like, I'm in.
But
All right.
your brain
Yeah.
is still forming.
Of course. Yeah, so I would have been
You're
so
still
okay with it.
awkward.
Yeah.
You are in that kind of Twilight headspace where the fantastical can be kind of like realistic and stuff. And
Yes,
you
of
do.
course.
Everything is an
I
extreme
mean,
at
me
that
at
age.
Yeah.
12, I probably did still believe in fairies and things like that.
sure.
You know what I mean?
You're like,
I had
okay,
just,
maybe you are a
you know,
werewolf.
yeah, like how many years ago had I stopped believing in Santa Claus? Like, there's no way that, like,
Hopefully a lot of years ago.
well, yeah. I mean, I was in elementary school, but that's not that long. You
Oh,
know,
you mean
right.
from being 12? I thought you meant
12.
from your current
no,
age.
no,
I was
no,
like,
no.
wait a second.
From being 12. Like when you're 12,
Hey,
like
spoiler alert, guys, about the Santa Claus
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Keegan. Jeez.
But yeah, so she is 12, and so she gets on these websites that he is on. One of them is called like vampirefreaks.com. And his let's play guess his moniker on Vampire
God.
Freaks. Guess it.
Okay.
Vamp Dick 69? No.
Cassie.
Vamp Stud 69.
There has to be a 69 in there somewhere.
No, you have to go with it. This will make you cringe. Soul Eater. So fucking lame.
Oh, God.
That's so stupid. That's not
You're
even
like, dude, you're not even a vampire. You're a werewolf.
I know,
Come
come
on.
Come the fuck on.
Stick with your, theme.
If you're gonna have a theme, fucking commit.
So this 12-year-old who, by all accounts, up to this point, was a diligent, unassuming, normal 12-year-old doing well in school, makes a profile where she's wearing a lot of makeup. She kind of embraces the goth thing.
Sure.
She says she's 15, which, I'm sorry, 23 and 15 isn't that
Still
much
not
better.
okay.
Still not
No.
okay.
Still not acceptable.
She definitely looks in that picture to be about 15 or 16.
She does not look
She doesn't look 12. But,
Yeah, but no
regardless,
excuses.
You're
Regardless.
fucking 23.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So she says she's 15 and her moniker is Runaway Devil. She says she's into stuff like, she says she's bisexual, she's into kinky stuff. She's, I mean, like really like going all the way out there. And him and her start talking about like their favorite movies, Natural Born Killers and all this stuff. Now,
I also feel so
meanwhile-
bad for her parents because it's like 2006, the amount of time I spent, I was 16. Like when my story happened was when this was happening. And the amount of time that I spent on the internet in all kinds of chat rooms doing like,
God knows what.
vampire are you? Like,
That
you know,
was before-
quizzes. And my parents, like, not because they were not good parents or not like paying attention. They
just didn't
know that like
Yeah.
you could dive into anything on the internet.
Yeah, no, I don't think that any parent like truly like
No.
realized at that point like
No.
what
How
kind of
dangerous it
dangers
was. There
lurked
were
on
no
there.
apps that you could put on your
No.
computer that
Right.
like blocked things. There wasn't
Tracked,
anything
yeah.
like that at the
No.
time.
So her parents though get wind of this, and her friends. They're like, "Ew, he is weird." Like no, like her friends are like, "No."
They're
so
like,
fucking
"Hi,
weird.
we're in 6th grade."
Yeah, hi,
Yeah.
no,
Hey.
this is weird. Her parents are like, understandably, very upset, and they're like, absolutely, you are not going to hang out with this weird fucking 23-year-old who thinks he's a fucking werewolf. Like, no, you are forbidden.
By the way, this girl is only like 3 years younger or 3 years older than my son at this time. That's just fucking insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To think about that.
yeah. So
like at that time, like it's just crazy what was happening.
She's younger than me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
right.
Wow.
So that is the worst thing that could happen to this chick. And I think like all of us at 12 can understand that whole like forbidden nature makes it
escalates
takes it to like a whole nother level.
Right.
And so
he's the bad boy.
He's the bad
I
boy.
need to be with him.
And so they start feeding off of each other. And because they're already like in a darker sphere, like I don't want to place the blame. There's some documentaries I watched that were like blamed the goth culture and stuff like that. And that's not what it is.
Because
like,
for grown consenting adults, all of that stuff is perfectly fine.
Correct.
Like that stuff is only a problem because she's a 12-year-old
and he's 20
and he's 23 and
Right.
you know, like that's where the issue lies.
Absolutely.
Like he was drinking a lot, he was doing a lot of cocaine and all this other stuff. And then
He sounds like a catch.
He honestly,
honestly.
was like obsessed with her too.
Which is fucking
It's
gross.
fucking gross. It's fucking so
Any
gross.
grown
but he was
man-
obsessed with her.
Any grown man, like, I think it's an interesting thing to look back on. As a 15-year-old, 14-year-old, 13-year-old, my mom used to say, like, there would be, like, grown men trying to hit on me in public, like, with her around.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, what the
Have
fuck
you lost
is
your fucking mind?
wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, why? And
This is why I can't have kids.
At
I
that age,
would
you're
get
so flattered.
arrested.
You're so flattered at 13
Yeah.
that anyone is paying attention to you. You don't care that
As
it's
a
someone
mother,
who's 23.
you would be horrified.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and so I can't blame her because I'm just like, I get it at 23. I mean, at 13. But what the fuck is wrong with these guys in their 20s and 30s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, this guy was just stunted, obviously. Like, even though his age was 23, I
Right.
think due to all
Yeah.
the abuse and dropping out of school or
Yeah.
whatever, he was socially and mentally handicapped.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
maybe I feel like
He was
what I've
probably more
read
like
of
a
his
15-year-old.
writing, exactly, that he did seem more of a 15, 16-year-old at that point, which
Doesn't
is still
excuse. No.
too old
No,
for
no,
a
no.
12-year-old.
Excuse.
But he thought she was 15, and I feel like mentally, like that's where his headspace was at. He-
And again, I do want to reiterate, nothing excuses any of this, but I do
Nothing.
want to reiterate, like, the online culture was different back then.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm sure when I was 15 or 16, I made friends via, like, AIM chat room with people who were in their 20s. I'm sure I did.
Absolutely.
You know,
Oh,
so
God, it's
and
so
it was
scary.
kind of one of those things where it was just like everyone just got together and talked to each other, and like
Yep.
you didn't think about it
Right.
until it got weird.
Yeah. Well, fast forward now, not too far, because remember I said in 2006 they met, like the beginning of 2006, they met at a punk concert. So this is in April 23rd, 2006. There's a little 6-year-old
Can't
boy.
believe you can recall that like with no notes.
It's just
Sorry,
so
go ahead.
weird. I don't have that brain. I wish I did.
There's a little 6-year-old boy who's a neighbor of the Richardsons that wants to play with their 8-year-old son, Jacob.
Okay. Appropriate.
Yeah. So he like runs over to the house and he knocks on the door. He notices that no one answers, but he really wants to play with his friend. So he's like looking around the backyard and he looks in the basement and he sees 2 bodies on the ground.
6 years old.
And he
6 years
gets
old.
really scared and he goes back and he tells his mom what he saw. And his mom goes over there, sees Mark and Deborah in the basement, bunch of blood everywhere, calls 911. Police go over. They have no idea what's going on. They finally break in the door. They find Mark and Deborah stabbed several times in the basement, blood everywhere. They're freaking out. They go and they enter the first bedroom, and that's where they find Jacob, and his throat had been slashed. They're really like preparing themselves to find Jasmine. They don't find her. They're freaking out. They're like, they issue an Amber Alert right away. They call, like, contact, like, all of her friends, everything, trying to figure out, like, someone must have taken Jasmine. This terrible scene. Someone broke in and killed this family and kidnapped the 12-year-old girl. Well, they start getting comments from her friends, like, actually... And that's when the name Jeremy Steinke comes up. And they go through her locker at school, and they start finding a lot of messages between the two of them, where she basically asks him to kill her family. Basically saying like...
Right. They did a thing, didn't they, where like the two of them kind of were like, it's us against your family's trying to keep us apart.
Yep.
That whole thing where like they're the enemy. Like we
Yeah.
need to take them out because like they're stopping us from being together.
Yeah.
Like our true love fucking forever vampire love bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it literally only takes them a day before they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, where they figure out real fast and they start looking for Jeremy Steinke. They finally find him and they arrest him, and Jasmine's with them, and they're like, they still can't believe that like a 12-year-old would be part of this. They're like, but she just seemed fine. She wasn't kidnapped or anything like that.
Right.
She was just there of her own free will. They find out through questioning them that they had spent the previous night just binge watching Natural Born Killers.
Wow.
It is bizarre how many, like when you get into true crime, like it's bizarre how many, and not a fault of the movie or the actors or anything like that, because I'm just like, you can't blame that shit. But
so
like
many people.
so many of these like true crime things, especially when it's like a couple, they reference Natural Born Killers as like their reference material for having like, yeah, because it gets kind of, it romanticizes it in a way, no matter how like gross it is.
Bonnie and Clyde of the.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, basically she had gotten him to come over. He killed the mom first, and then the dad tried to fight him off with like a screwdriver, but it was no match for him. He was like younger, and he had a big knife on him and killed him. And his last words, which Jeremy like relayed to the police officer, he said, "Why?" And Jeremy goes, "Because your daughter wants it this way."
And
then killed him.
This whole time,
Wow.
is this something that you had seen in your research where, like, when that whole thing was going on, Jasmine was upstairs? This is how you know that, like, she's not a complete psychopath, so, like, what the fuck was going on?
Right.
Because she was upstairs with her hands on her little brother's ears.
She didn't want him to hear.
For him. But here's the. But then to kill him.
Here's the thing that goes back and
Only
forth.
to go to the
Yeah,
point.
but she didn't want him to experience the horror before.
And here's the thing is that from what I've read, I've read like a lot of different things that go back and forth exactly how the brother was killed.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it goes back and forth between like her really not wanting to and him like being like, no, he can identify us. But it's not like they did anything really to hide. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
they
it's
went
like,
on the run anyway. I think
Yeah.
they knew they were going to be caught, so it was kind of like...
she definitely did it. She killed her younger brother, but
he killed the parents. She killed her brother.
whether she was going to let him go and he pressured her or not is up for debate, you know. But yeah, she ended up killing her younger brother. And then they
And
just go off.
granted, I think whenever we tell these stories, we oftentimes like think of her as older. Just because in my brain, like all these actions, it's really hard to equate them with a 12-year-old.
12-year-old,
yeah.
But 8 and 12. So that's 4-year difference. It's not like they were really far apart in age or anything
No.
like that either. It's like they probably played together. They grew up, you know, like children.
And she
was a child.
she was a child.
12. You're a fucking child.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
even a teenager yet.
So the police arrest them and they put both of them on trial. Jasmine is still to this day the youngest person in Canada to be put on trial for murder.
Oh my God. Was she
because
tried
she's-
as an adult?
No, because she's under 14, she cannot be charged as an adult. And in fact, the maximum sentence is 10 years.
So guess what?
She's out. She's been out. She's been out for a few years now, and apparently
God.
she's like the poster child for rehabilitation.
Yeah, apparently she's doing really well. Like
Graduated from college.
Some university got like it was in the news recently because someone like outed her identity because she got a completely new identity.
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah,
they do
yeah.
in Canada.
Oh.
So she got a completely new identity, and
Right.
like someone at her university like recognized her, but she's doing like really, really well apparently. Like you know,
Yeah, like
which I don't
when
know how
she-
you ever fucking recover from
When
that.
she
Like, how?
first went to jail, like he like wrote to her and proposed marriage, and she was like, yes, of course. And but over the course of time, because 12 is really different from 16, which
Yeah.
is really different from 20, which is
What
really
kind of
different from 22.
facility is she in? I mean, I can't imagine she's like in a traditional lockup.
No,
She was in like a
Canada's
juvie.
really different.
They're so
Yeah.
much more lax than we are. She was in like a juvenile facility that was
And it really focused on rehabilitation.
Right,
And she went to a lot of therapy. And I guess she responded really well to it. That
God,
they
I hope
said
so.
she expressed a lot of regret.
I'm sure
God, I
she's
can't imagine.
so regretful. But that's how that's why I have it would be so hard to go on and lead a normal life after that.
Yeah.
Not because you weren't rehabilitated, but because
You always carry that.
Yeah, because of that
It doesn't go away.
rehabilitation, that grief and remorse is so I don't know how I would live with myself.
I don't
think
know
I could.
how either. You know, like I've got the shame receipts that I've shared from when I'm 12 that like
none of
wake
them
me up,
include
but none of them include
killing your
murdering my
family.
family. Yeah.
And it's one, like, listen, all of it, awful trauma. But it's one thing to be upstairs and know that, like, your parents are being murdered downstairs. It's
then to
another thing
kill
to
your fucking
actually
brother.
kill your own little brother. Like, I don't know how you ever, the guilt that would go along with trying to lead a good life after that would
Listen
be
to
so
how
strong.
motherfucking forgiving these Canadians are, though. Like her extended family has forgiven her. They kept in contact with her. They visited her. They still like.
I admire that, but
get
I'm
that.
also
I
like,
admire it too.
admire
I'm
it, but
just
I don't know
like,
how
oh
you
my
would do
God,
it.
how
I don't
do
know
you
how
do
you
that?
would do it.
But,
I admire
like, yeah,
it.
her grandparents and her cousins and all of that. I mean, I get it. You're 12. You're 12, and we have that own debate here in our society about at what age are you culpable? Do you understand right from wrong? It's not that a 12-year-old doesn't understand right from wrong, but
but your brain is still
undeveloped.
developing.
Yeah,
It's
and
undeveloped.
understanding the consequences of your
Yeah.
actions are, and even at that time too, especially maybe being part of a culture that's like, oh, I'm 300-year-old werewolf. You're like, life has no consequence, or
Right.
the idea of like death being the final, or
Right.
I don't know.
Well,
You're in your
yeah.
12-year-old brain, maybe you just can't even come to terms with that.
I'm really
Right.
glad I'm really glad that I decided to tell my own story this week
Oh,
of
yeah.
all weeks, because
Yeah.
look at how fucking naive I was.
Oh, totally.
Like, even into my like mid to late teens.
Yeah.
I was so naive. And it's not saying that like I shouldn't be. It's hard to say whether or not she got off too light or not, because 12, you know what I mean? But at the same time, again, I could have very easily been swayed into believing things like that. I was very easily malleable to like someone else of greater influence, especially a guy who was interested in me. Again,
Sure,
like,
sure.
You're so willing to you don't want to let that go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It
so I
becomes
get that.
so extreme,
Important. Yeah.
so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the story of Jasmine Richardson.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
crazy.
What about the guy? How long did he get in prison?
25 years.
Oh, okay.
And he
Which
was
seems light to me for
25 when he was
first-degree murder.
convicted.
Wow.
His name is Jackson May now. He changed his name to Jackson May, and he's still like going through appeals and stuff like that, like trying to. And they brought up a lot of the abuse and everything like that,
Which
in
I
the trial.
understand, but at the
But it's
same
just like-
time, yeah.
I mean,
you know
I'm
better.
No
way
excuses.
more willing to like forgive a 12-year-old.
Your brain is still developing in a very real way
Yeah.
at 12, where it's like you're. Not that your brain is not still developing at 23, but it's different. And like
If you're an adult and you haven't been around kids in a while, go try to have a conversation with a fucking 12-year-old.
Please.
And tell
Oh
me
my
like
God.
how much you want to hold them responsible for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about it back in the 80s, like at 12, I was like babysitting. And I'm like,
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
this-
man.
I
Isn't
hear
that
you.
insane? I would
Yeah. Are
never
you fucking
let a
kidding me?
12-year-old babysit my kid.
Ever.
Because
It's
like
so different
they're
back
a baby.
then.
Yeah.
They're babies.
They're babies.
They're babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like at 12, I used to have to watch my brother and sister and stuff like that.
I
Now,
did
too,
that
I'm
with
like,
my
how am I
siblings. Yeah, I
responsible
did.
at all.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
crazy.
I'm totally with you on that. Like, yeah.
Wow.
Well, there we go. Let's go ahead and wrap it up for the week.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any stories, if you have any high school stories, I'm
Yeah.
very interested in hearing those first kiss stories that maybe you followed up on. I hope we've encouraged you to follow up on your first kiss. Get on Facebook, Google that name, and like let us know
happened?
what's going on there. But you can write into us on our email. Our email is myworstdatepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on social. We are on Instagram at myworstdatepodcast. We are on Twitter at worstdatepod. We also have a really fun Facebook group, both
Yeah.
our business page and our Facebook group, which is really where all the fun stuff happens.
Yeah.
And check out our Patreon. Please check out our
Yes.
Patreon. We're starting to record like little videos and fun little bonus contents
Yeah.
for you guys. And you get the bonus content at $1 a month, at that $1 tier level. You know, you'll start to get all of those extra stuff. So if you can't get enough of us, definitely look into that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we love it so much. Thank you.
And we will see you guys next time.
Cheers.
What's up, everybody? Okay, do you guys know that even if we all ate the same and exercised the same, that we would all still look completely different? I'm Lacey Green. I'm a super trainer with Body. That's BODI.com. I'm telling you, this is something that you need in your life. The app isn't just about having a perfect body, because what is that anyway? It's about what we call health esteem. Feeling good about yourself right now, just as you are, as you work on the person you are becoming. Using Body's tools to find your version of happy and healthy. Body isn't just some software. It's people. It's trainers, nutrition, and mindset experts, and a community of other people just like you and me. And they even have my program for beginners only, which you have to try even if you've never worked out a day in your life. I'll get you off the couch and started on day one, finding the joy and dropping the judgment. And don't take my word for it. You can try it for free right now for 14 days at body.com. That's body with an I.com. Let's get up, get moving, and feel good. Whoop, whoop.
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.